I'm Jenn. I'm a psychotherapist, mom, and human who has lived through the messiness of life and learned a few things along the way. I teach this stuff. So I decided to create a podcast called The Authenticity Mindset, where we can talk about the truth, take action, and get inspired. Are you ready to join the community? Let's go. Hi, it's Jenn. Welcome to episode number 5. We're going to talk about boundaries today. Oh my gosh, something that so many people struggle with, and I used to struggle with for a very long time. The idea that thinking about pleasing people, thinking about making everyone else happy, being liked, and having a hard time being able to know what I need and what is best for me in the process. And I know a lot of you guys are struggling with the same thing. Full disclosure, you will hear I have my first summer colds. Yay. It's not going to stop us from recording our podcast, though, because we have a goal to be consistent in spreading all of the positive and helpful information that we can. So we're doing it even with my scraggly voice. So hope it doesn't bother too many of you. And hopefully it passes pretty soon. Summer colds are not fun. Um, Okay, so let's get right into it. So the idea of identifying what your goals in attempting to make other people happy. And as we've talked about already, right? Like people are going to say things, people are going to talk shit, people are going to have their judgments. Everyone is trying to focus on themselves. It's a natural thing. It's okay. But if we abandon ourselves in service of that idea of what someone else wants us to do, then we really get ourselves into trouble. And so, I've heard from so many people about just trying to wrap their heads around the idea of boundaries. And, it's such a buzzword. Everyone, every therapist in the world talks about boundaries, and there's a reason for that, right? Because in order to achieve your own personal goals, you have to be able to separate from the outside noise and the inner self. And so boundaries is really the bridge to help us get there. But I like to view boundaries actually in a way that's more connected with a sense of time. So here's what I want you to think about. If asserting one's boundary, right, saying no, saying this doesn't serve me, this doesn't work for me, actually is saying, this is not something where I would like to spend my time. This is not serving me. This is not useful for me in terms of how my time is being spent. And we can break it down even further, right? I actually heard Michelle Obama saying something on her podcast talking about when her mother was passing away and how her mom was suggesting that um, oh my gosh, life is so short, or this went by so fast, this concept of life. And that really resonated with me when I knew I was about to talk to you guys about boundaries, because it's so important to connect quality of life in a short limited time span that we have in our life to the idea of empowering us to assert our boundaries. So let's take a simple example. A girlfriend of mine was talking about to me a little while ago. Excuse me, with the cough, summer cold. Um, which was, someone had asked her to spend the afternoon doing something, going shopping in some sort of way. And, she really didn't want to do it, but she felt badly saying no. And she felt badly being able to sort of suggest that she wanted to do something different with her time. And, instead she ended up going shopping. She spent the day, and sort of all that time, right, that she had to be able to focus on whatever else she needed to get done ended up going to being in service of this friend who wanted her to spend the day. And I think that if she, in her authentic self, really wanted to spend the day that way, no harm, no foul. You're respecting your time, you're being generous with a friend, and you're doing what you want to do, and hopefully you have a nice afternoon. But the heart of this was really like not that feeling, right? It was, oh my gosh, I have so many other things to do, but I don't want to let this friend down, or I've canceled on this friend so many times already. I don't know how to say no. What if they're mad at me? What if they don't invite me again if I say no? Right? Does that sound familiar in terms of like issues that come up for people sometimes when the idea of setting boundaries comes into play? And so she said yes, and then ended up being really frustrated throughout the course of the day because all that time had gone in a way that she wasn't authentically aligned with. So, if we were to pull it back a little bit and help, figure out how and where the boundary could have been set, It's really about looking at, okay, you can be in like good, healthy honoring of your friendship and say, today doesn't work for me. Even if what you have to do today doesn't seem all that exciting or interesting or worthwhile to the friend, right? So if the friend is like, come on, come on, come on, let's go shopping, but you really need to like get laundry done, get the house cleaned up because you can notice that chaos in your mind. I know I feel that way when my house is like a mess. It's like chaos is just building in my brain. Sometimes my kids help with that. Sometimes they do the dishes, sometimes they do not, but regardless, um, if you have things to do that are honoring of yourself or honoring of how you wanted to spend the day, but then, someone else pulls you in a different desire and you just are saying yes because you're afraid to say no, then you have a breakdown, right? You have an authenticity breakdown with yourself because you're not really being honest with the friends. You're definitely not being honest with yourself, and you're not honoring this concept that time is like the foremost important factor. How we spend our time, how we take care of ourselves, how we give our time when we're aligned is what creates setting the boundary a healthy and important next step. So I want you to think about other examples, and a lot of times this happens with family. It could be other people, coworkers, colleagues, supervisors, bosses, everyone else in your life that sort of expects and demands time of you. School, right? Those PTA groups, God bless them for the work that they do, but it's hard to set the boundaries with saying, yes, I really care about what you're doing in school and no, I cannot give time to it. Think about like what's coming up. What are those struggles and those internal conflicts that are making it so challenging to just say the no that you need to say? I imagine that for a lot of people, the feeling of, but I'm supposed to help, I'm supposed to be giving, that's what good people do, right? That's what nice people do, is part of what happens. But I want to encourage you to really consider that that is just an ill-defined sense of self. You can be a good person, you can be a giving, generous person, and you can say, I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to honor the time that I have today to do this instead of that. And just sit with that for a second. Like, notice all the vibrations come up around, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? But what if they're mad at me? And I just want you to allow it. Allow all that discomfort, right? To kind of sit in the room with you of like, okay, like, yeah, you're going to do you. You're going to spend your time the way that you need to. You're not harming anyone by, in fact, doing that. You're just saying, I'm allowed to be a generous and giving person. And right now, I can't do that. And then you're going to let them be responsible for their feelings. And then you're going to take full ownership and holding of your feelings. This is where the sitting in the discomfort thing lies, right? Is if you're willing to sit in the discomfort of, oh no, what are they going to think? What are they going to do? I'm so uncomfortable. I don't like people being mad at me. I don't like disappointing people. Just sit in it. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Sit in the discomfort. And then they can sit in their discomfort. If they're upset, if they're frustrated, if they're angry. I mean, hopefully they're not, right? Like, hopefully, if everyone's kind of acting with authenticity, then someone saying no is not going to like cause an earthquake in a relationship. And if it does, then maybe that's something that is more informative about the relationship. And that can kind of speak to another thing, right? As to when you find yourself in friendships and relationships or in demanding interpersonal connections with people that are not, in fact, actually helping you get where you want to go and helping you mutually support each other. Because if you're protecting your boundaries and they're protecting their boundaries, then in theory, there should be no real problem by someone saying no. So this is how I want you to think about the concept of boundaries is boundaries are a tool to help you honor your time. And then when you honor your time, your job is to hold the feelings. Okay, I feel bad. I feel guilty. I notice all those pre-programmed assumptions coming up. And then nothing. Nothing happens. You just honor your time that day. You do what you need to do with generosity and kindness and explanation. No one's saying to ghost anybody, right? But you say, no, I can't, not today, thank you. Or no, this doesn't work for me. Or no, the expectation that you have of me is not, in fact, working for my expectation of me today. And then if they want to sort of ask more or find out more information about that, they can. You can still sit and hold that by having an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe we need to talk about like what it feels like to have a conflict sometimes. That'll be another episode that we'll do about how to manage conflicts. But for now, I just really want to empower you to be like, okay, my time, my life, I am allowed. It's okay. I can hold the space in between when I say no and when I honor my time and when I feel what happens. And then I can assert myself by honoring, okay, now I've cleared the space, I've given myself the time back that I need, and now I can follow through. So I hope that makes sense in terms of boundaries and time and how they correlate together. The other way that boundaries are often talked about is in a follow through of how you, if you assert a boundary to another person, right? As opposed to saying no to an event or no to an expectation that someone puts on you. Another way to talk about boundaries is in is more in being able to look at when you do something that I don't like, here are the consequences that are going to come. And that's another way to set a boundary, right? That's more in terms of the dynamics of ongoing relationships. So let's say that, um, someone that you work with will frequently come and, talk to you first thing in the morning for like a half an hour. And you're always behind on getting your work done because they're coming and talking to you during that time. So it's not necessarily saying no, it's more needing to be able to share why it is that you're having a hard time with this choice that they're making, right? So in that sort of an example, in terms of boundary setting, you could say, hey, Joe, good morning. I noticed that, we tend to have these great talks in the morning, and I really honor and appreciate that time. But moving forward, I'm going to need to actually just focus on working in order to get myself ahead for the day. So I hope you understand that the next time you come and talk to me in the morning, I'm going to be like, oh, Joe, remember, we can't do this anymore. And I'll find you later in the day. So it's asserting the boundary with using your communication skills, right? By saying, hey, Joe, I acknowledge I see what's going on. It's not like not Joe's fault, right? Joe didn't know that you were having a hard time keeping up with your work. But by you saying, hey, Joe, this is not working for me. So this is what I'm going to now do, right? So you address the issue, you inform the person as to what your next step is going to be, and then you assert the consequence, right? When Joe violates the boundary, you're going to do this, and you're letting Joe know ahead of time, right? So, hey, Joe, when you come talk to me in the morning, I'm gonna actually kind of remind you, put my hand up and say, I can't talk, bro. Like, it's not gonna work. And I'm gonna focus on my work. And don't take offense to it because I'm letting you know now, right? So, Joe may not like that you're asserting that boundary. He may not like that you're not chatting with him in the morning. That's okay. Joe can decide what Joe wants to do with his feelings about that, but you're prioritizing your work, your day, and you're reminding yourself, I'm allowed, I'm allowed. Remember that permission thing? I give myself permission to live the life of my desires, right? So meaning I want to have a like smooth, efficient work day. I don't want to get swept up in Joe conversation for the first 30 minutes. Nothing against Joe, but I like need to get my stuff done, and I'm more than happy to find Joe later if Joe still wants to talk. But Joe's desire to start the day with chit chat has nothing to do with my desire to get my work done. So we have to be able to influence that circumstance with communication. We have to use our voice, right? Hey, Joe, kind, generous, still like good hearted spirit, right? You're still you, but you're just saying, thanks so much for wanting to chat every morning. Not going to work for me now. next time that you come to me, I'm going to remind you that I can't talk and I'm going to go back to my work. Right. So by letting Joe know ahead of time what the consequence of your boundary is going to be, you're giving Joe an opportunity to choose. Does Joe want to be like shut down when you come to him? Or is he going to remember, oh, right, she said she can't talk in the morning. I'll find her later. And that's up to Joe, right? That's not up to you. That's up to Joe. And so, whether or not that becomes a conflict between you and Joe is really about Joe's adherence to your boundary. Your only job is to just follow through with the consequence. A lot of times, what people struggle with is actually that follow through part of, oh, but I don't want to actually tell him to go away. That's mean. He might get upset with me. He might tell, like, Sarah down the hall that I was being bitchy this morning. And again, you have to allow other people to live their life according to their like prescribed way, right? You're only in charge of your prescribed way. So if you know that you let Joe know and that you're being as kind and communicative as possible, then you have to let your boundary be what you're honoring for yourself without making it Joe's problem or Sarah's problem or anyone else's problem if they like your boundary or not. You are not responsible for other people liking your boundary. You are just responsible for asserting your boundary, for following through with the consequence. Because if Joe comes to you after you tell him, hey, Joe, I can't talk in the morning, and he comes and just like barrels through your boundary, right, and is talking to you anyway, and you just sit there and you go, oh, and you think to yourself, I thought we talked about this yesterday, but now you're still talking to me and I'm just gonna let you. Then how is Joe gonna know, right? Like nothing happens except you abandon your boundary and then your time goes away and now you're not as efficient as in work as you wanted to be, right? So like that's how some of this like disconnection to our authentic selves starts to be created. It's when we are so afraid of the outside world, of other people, of what they're going to think, what they're going to say and do, that we don't do what we got to do. So really think about that. It's so important to be able to really connect what you need for yourself with giving yourself this permission. So set the boundaries as it relates to honoring your time. Know that your time is valuable. It's your life. You are allowed to set the tone for how you want to spend your time and still be generous and caring. And it's in terms of following through with, a consequence that says, hey, I let you know what my boundary was, and I'm gonna follow through on it. Nothing against you, but I honor me. You, I just really want to encourage people to have a little bit more selfishness. And I feel like being selfish is like such a taboo phrase, and I don't really understand why that's the case. And maybe this is a more like female dominated construct that like if we're selfish, we're somehow bad. But like it is literally your life. It is you in your body alone for your life. And you interact with all these different people and partners and you have kids and friendships and all these people coming in and out of your life, but it is you at the end of the day. And I really want to empower people to use your voice, embolden yourself, live your life. I mean, there are so many incredible things that people could be doing if they only gave themselves permission and value to actually say, do, be who they are and what they want. And so I think be selfish. Be selfish without harming others, right? Be selfish with clear communication. Be selfish with taking a beat to sort of feel your feelings, own and take responsibility for your feelings without taking on everyone else's feelings. So let's start a movement of being assertive in our communication and clear in asking for what we need and knowing that we can honor our time and honor ourselves. And that's what being authentic is. And if we all were to do that, we would probably really understand each other better and there would be less miscommunication and less people being butthurt about this, that, and the other, and more just like, yeah, I get it. Like your time is valuable to you, my time is valuable to me. I'll see you the next time you're available. Cool. Right? I can't go shopping with you this afternoon, but I'd love to in a couple weeks. I know you understand. Thank you so much. Right? So let's really help everyone. If you know someone that's struggling with this, like let them know, like, hey, I listened to this podcast. It was talking about giving yourself permission to be selfish and that this helps you be a more generous person. Let's do it. Let's connect together and find each other and help one step at a time, one more person, and inside yourself as well. Just assert one boundary. Say one no that honors your time back and see if that makes a difference in terms of feeling more connected and really true to yourself. Okay. See you on the authenticitymindset.com. Check out everything that's going on over there. Really exciting news, guys. Next episode, episode 6, we have our first guest. It's going to be fantastic. I am so excited. I've known this person for almost all of my life, and I can't wait for you to meet him. And we're going to have a great chat about his story and his authentic journey and pivotal moments in his life that helped him find his true voice and his path along the way. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start adding this component into the podcast, which is our little mini Inside the Actor studio of learning about people's journeys and sharing together and feeling more connected. So stay tuned for next week. All right, take care. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found something that feels right for you. Remember, while I am a psychotherapist, I am not your psychotherapist. So if you're looking for therapy, make sure you find a licensed mental health provider in your area. And I guess like and subscribe because that's what they do these days. We want more people involved, right? Go get it. See you next time.